2G here, and they are back in MK11 land, home of mutilated bodies, brutalities, and endings. Of course, with me in the chat party, we have the myth, the legend, It's Wicked.
Yep.
And of course, we have Fire Ninja Gaming, aka Chimera Gaming.
Yeah.
And now, of course, as many of you guys know, I've already recently did my top 5 best and worst fatalities. Fire Ninja will be doing the same for him and his channel in the next few days. And I'm about to do my top 5 best and worst endings. Fire Ninja will be doing his as well in the next few days because he still has a few to get. But there's some he already has that he knows that he may agree or disagree with me. And how this list is going to work, we're going to start with the 5th worst and go to the 5th best. So it would be 5th worst, 5th best, and 4th worst, etc., etc. So we're going to start off this list with the 5th worst one. And after each ending, I will go into detail why they are on the best or the worst list. So let's start off with number 5. We're going with the one I like to call Big E, or Kofi Kingston in variations.
I guess I'll watch your stream and get an idea and see if I agree with it.
So let's head to Jack.
From Contender.
All I wanted was to fix my life. Now I have the power to fix history. Raiden warns me, I can't fix everything. Change too much and I could lose Vera, lose Jackie. But this power is bigger than us. If I think only about helping myself, what kind of officer am I? What kind of man? I've been lucky. My family and I have lived the American dream. But most people who look like me haven't had that chance. I owe it to them to put things right. And I'm not waiting centuries for people to get woke when I've got the power to speed things up. I don't get it right the first time, or the second, or even the third. But eventually, I knock it out of the damn park. My family's back. The world's a better place for everyone. Turns out, you can have everything. Anyone who says you can't needs to dream bigger.
Alright, that was my 5th worst ending, Jax. Now here's my thing with it. I get what they were trying to do, you know, it is one of the happier endings. There's no time coming back to bite you in the ass. But that's one of my issues with it. It's like one of the few endings to where there was no repercussions for fixing the timeline or doing what you want with the timeline. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, why I understand why, you know, eliminating slavery, and I understand, you know, awoke and speed up the process. But with that being said, where was the getting rid of the slaveries for the Japanese slaves and the Irish slaves? So, what? We're not counting them either, so that's kind of disappointing. Third and lastly, it feels like the only reason they did this ending the way it was, because it kind of, when you look at the end, it feels like it's, what is that place where Black Panther's from?
Africa, Wakanda.
Wakanda, thank you. It feels like they were going with him becoming Black Panther Wakanda type ending. So I'm kind of disappointed because Jack's other endings were never like that. It feels like this one was kind of a forced, you know, good ending, make everyone happy, which did not sit well with me at all. Also kind of feels like a Marvel type ending, like I said, with Black Panther and Wakanda. Speaking of Marvel, let's go to the 5th best ending in my eyes.
Can I say if I agree with it or not?
Do you agree or disagree with Jack being on the worst side?
I agree with it for a few reasons. Basically what that makes that look like is now, because it never specifically says where they are, but from the looks of it, they could still be in America. And everybody's dressed like that. So, you know, there's a potential that he caused an uprising and made it so that way they are the dominant one.
That's a good point. And now we're going to the 5th best ending in my eyes, which I've kind of already hinted at, since I did say Marvel S. Say hello to the end of the world, Triple H, Shao Kahn, and I'll go into my reasons why in a minute.
I conquered history like I conquered realms, merging billions of potential timelines into a singularity. The universe has been remade in my image, and all is as it should be.
I have seen Shao
The
Kahn.
weak serve the strong. The strong compete for power, wealth, and my favor in mortal combat. For centuries, the tournament's champion has gone undefeated. That champion is me! Hail the conqueror! Hail Shao Kahn!
Now, the reason Shao Kahn's at number 5 best, out of all the ones I'm going to have on my list for the bad guys, his is one of the few that stays with his character. And that's the one thing I do, it seems like a lot of the bad guys, it stays with what their character is known for. So I do applaud them for that. And Shao Kahn does feel a little bit like Thanos' thing to a degree. You know, he wants to shape the world and universe in his image, which Shao Kahn's pretty much a straightforward ending. I now rule the universe, welcome to hell. Plus the voice actor who does Shao Kahn did a good job of representing that. And of all the bad guy endings who do use the time thing to their advantage, his is probably the most. It's like, hey, I'm going to control time, continue the Mortal Kombat tournament, but I'm not going to let anyone win. I'm going to completely run it and be the only champion. Kind of sounds like Vince McMahon, doesn't it? It is enjoyable, and if you do like the bad guys who stay with the bad guy endings, this is probably one of the best ones.
You said earlier that was like Thanos, but that isn't.
I said
close.
like Thanos to a degree, just because of the fact. Remember, Thanos wanted the universe cut in half, you know. But I think depending if you go with the movie, but if you read the comic books, Thanos wants to eventually take over the universe.
Yeah, but Thanos wants the universe cut in half because of what happened to his planet.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of those where I'm basing more on the comic book instead of the film.
I'm basing it on the comics too. That's the entire reason why he wants that in there too.
And of course, my phone has to be stupid. I will look at that comment in a minute.
But I don't agree with it.
Alright, so you do not agree with Shao Kahn on my top 5 list. It's alright, don't expect everyone to be
That's also
happy.
because, you know, they have Scarlet getting killed by a non-playable character.
You mean
Takeda.
Takeda,
You
yeah.
know, someone who's not playable. And besides,
We're not playable yet.
You would also think that, like, why would you still want the Mortal Kombat tournaments? You own everything. There's no point.
The only reason I could presume Shao Kahn does is because of the fact that, remember, even if you read some of the older Mortal Kombat comic books, he still loves to compete. He still loves to see people compete for his favor. So I think that's why he lives.
So then they shouldn't have to fight him. If he always wins, that makes it boring. His logic is flawed, Doug.
I can understand that, but remember, it's Outward. Outward pretty much kisses his ass. The descendants of
And
Outward.
besides, when you think about it, his ending's also not a good one for partially that reason, because once you own everything, there's nothing really to do. Don't
Not in
have
Shao
anything
Kahn's
else to
eyes.
gain.
Now there's another
Yeah, but
character
you
who
keep
realizes
killing
that,
everyone
though.
who wins.
And I'm not going to say that character's name because there's a character who realizes that. But I figured, that ending was kind of predictable if you know the character's whole gimmick. I'm not going to say that character's name because he might be on your list. Now if he's not, then I'll say it when yours are done. Alright, time for the 4th worst ending, and of course this shouldn't surprise anybody because she's the worst character to me overall in the franchise.
That is the humanoid word for the chitin and our fellow insectoids. But with the hourglass, this one can review history and give lie to that myth. Humanoids live to kill. Without a common enemy to fight, they divide, destroy each other. Insectoids live to survive. No conflicts divide us. We build upon each other. Kin does not kill kin. So tell this one, who are the vermin? Time for this one to write a more just history. One in which pesky humanoids finally take the places they deserve, scrambling beneath our feet.
Yeah, I've said
Well,
before,
her logic's flawed.
I don't like Devora, and I'm sorry, this just feels like, hey, it just feels like, again, another ending that, I get the character, and she just got a point with her character to a degree. The Hive, they don't kill each other, and I can understand, you know, her point of view on the,
Yes, but
who's
that's
the
assuming that
monsters,
all
us or
humans
the
are...
humans.
No, because that's also assuming that all humans are kin.
Yeah,
And
that...
bugs do kill each other.
Yeah, that's what I was going with. That's where it's flawed, because bugs do kill each other, and not all humans are kin. Furthermore, I'm sorry, it just feels like, hey, we're just
And
gonna...
besides, Shao Kahn was in there. He is not human.
Yeah, he's not human.
He's humanoid, but she's also humanoid, so by
Yeah.
her logic, she's also one of them.
Correct, and technically, if you look at it, Katana's not of Earth Realm either. I mean, yes, she's human, but she's...
She's Iridian. No, she's Iridian.
Yeah, so completely
It's
different as well.
species, technically.
Yeah, that's what I was going with. And I'm sorry, Attack on Titan ending pretty much, where all the bugs are big now, and you don't even explain how the bugs, how you made the bugs that big.
Yeah, you control time, not...
You control time. You don't control...
Well, I'm...
genetics.
You technically control space, but you don't control how that works out.
Correct. So to me, not a great ending. The only reason I'm giving it any... I have it so low on the list is because there's 3 other ones that kind of just make me scratch my head, but...
Gee, I wonder which one of those will be.
Going to the 4th best one, and this one might surprise everyone, and I'll give my explanation why he's on here in a minute.
In her last moments, Kronika tried to tempt me. Spare her, and she would rewrite history. With Jade as my queen, I would rule an eternal Osh-Tech empire that spanned all the realms. But Kronika never understood the Osh-Tech heart. Our lives are cloth, woven from choice and circumstance. Pull even one thread, that cloth is torn asunder and made worthless. Now that I am tasked with keeping time, others beg me to have their histories rewritten. But as long as the hourglass is mine, I will not shape destiny in any one being's favor. History will play out as determined by its players. Let the sands fall where they may.
And before I get into detail why I like Kato Khan as my 4th best ending, Mob says, fine, Ninja will probably disagree with at least 60% of yours. And Mob says, I have no idea what you're talking about, so I probably won't say much. Well, so far, I gotta say, on the worst side, you've agreed with on both of them so far.
Yeah, I can't agree with the good ones, though, because that one, his logic is flawed again.
Okay, how is his logic flawed? Because he's pretty much saying, as long as I control the sands of time...
No, he's talking about how it's Osh-Tech heart, how it's woven. He already messed that up. He can't talk about that anymore. He showed that he was merciless.
Okay, I'm confused.
To people that don't just... Remember the story when they captured a bunch of...
Okay, that story when he was about to kill a bunch of decayed...
Yeah.
But I think that's more because of the fact of, if you remember on MKX, they were feuding with them. So he probably doesn't trust them.
Trust has
Eventually,
nothing to do with that,
he did.
Doug.
If you remember the story, he eventually looks at Baraka as an equal at the end. He didn't look at it in MKX, but remember, they were working with
Yeah,
Melina, so
but
that was
that's
more of
not the
a...
point.
So I can't really
His
hold that against him.
I can because he was going to kill innocents, and then he goes on and talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, but remember, he eventually realized the error of his ways in the story mode, realizing he probably should have not have did that.
Fact is, he still did.
He still did, but he realized it was a mistake. How many other people have realized mistakes when they did that in MK? None. Furthermore, I also like this ending because of the fact of what he says at the end. He's not going to change time to favor one person. He's going to let the chips fall where they may. So it's pretty much you decide your own destiny. You decide what happens to your timeline. I'm not going to control it. Nor am I going to let someone get an advantage out of it. So that, to me, outweighs what your... Because he's not going to let anyone have ultimate power. He's going to... There's balance. No one's getting an advantage. No one's going to get what, you know... Scorpion's not going to be able to reverse his time. Kung Lao's not going to be able to. Frost ain't going to be able to. Liu Kang. Everyone's got to play with the cards they are dealt with. Which to me, that is actually a good thing, because it's like no one's being favored here. One of the few good guy endings that actually does that. He's like, nope, I'm not going to play favorites. You're going to deal with the cards where you just got dealt.
I would say partially. Because with the way he... And I can say that with Aaron Black's too, for degree.
Alright, so now we're going with the third worst one, and I'm probably going to do a lot of defending on this one. But I'll go into why I don't like it in a minute. So, come up, Ronda Rousey.
None of us saw Kronika coming, not even Raiden. But with the hourglass, I can see every terror in the realms. Any sane person would run screaming at the sight of them. It's my duty to take out these ancient, all-powerful beings. But to do that, I need an elite squad of immortal gods. Turns out, to make a new god, you've got to destroy an old one. So I hunt the oldest I can find, an omni deity from a forgotten, unpronounceably named realm. It's the fight of my life, but I've got something this god doesn't. Family. In my past, these were the people who mattered most. Now, they're my god squad. My daughter, my brother in arms, my goddaughter. Yep, even Johnny. But only because Cassie insisted. And maybe I missed him a little. Just don't let him know that.
Okay, with Sonya's, what disappoints me with this one before I get into the main ending for her, I was kind of hoping with hers they would have finally addressed the issue that they left open in the MK9 ending, and the MK9 storyline in general. If you read the Mortal Kombat 9 and X comic and see Sonya's ending, she eventually wants to bring her father back, who apparently her father soul was caught up in the cell NATO. So she wants to bring him back to Earthrealm. You know, not something nice, you know, and I get what the family thing was. Here's the issue. Unless you're going to tell me that she also somehow or another convinced Jax not to have any more episodic meltdowns, I would not exactly want him on my team of giving him super godlike power.
Can I say, well, I'm gonna explain my reason, because I kind of have to agree, but for different reasons.
And I get where, you know, the family thing, and I know, and it seems like a lot of the endings in general, this one have to do with family or loved ones and everything like that. This one just felt like anticlimactic for a character like Sonya, who's always been this tough female who's never really cared about family till MK9. And it just felt like you could have done so much better with hers. I just feel like hers was of the 5, I wouldn't say, not even, it's not bad, it's not on the list because it's bad, it's on the list for worst because it's just anticlimactic and disappointing for what I know what the character used to be till it's like, yay, I'm just going to destroy all these guards with the help of my family. What?
Okay, the reason why this one's a bad one is for multiple reasons. One, she's the past version of Sonya. Cassie doesn't exist.
Correct.
Jax wouldn't have been affected yet.
Correct.
Jackie wouldn't have existed.
Correct.
One, how does killing one god make 4 new ones?
Correct.
Another thing, why would you choose all people you consider family? That's not a smart decision.
Correct.
And you know,
I would have been picking the more powerful people in the realms.
well, one, I would have kept Raiden, because Raiden makes sense since he actually has experience as a god.
Yeah.
And explain this. How does someone who is a new god take down a god that's been ancient?
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of questions with that one. That's why I have it at
doesn't
third.
make sense.
No, it doesn't.
all.
It makes 0 sense.
Just like the idea of Ronda Rousey being her voice actor. Oh no.
Yeah, that was disappointing. I would like to point out, on the good endings I have, you've kind of disagreed with both. I think the Kato
bad
Khan when
endings.
the bad endings you've agreed with me on all 3 so far. So going with the third best one, and this one you kind of unfortunately already said it earlier, unfortunately, but for people who did not hear it or people who have not seen it yet.
Truth be told, it surprised me, putting down Kronika. Not bad for a scrawny kid from Wicket. Now that it's done, now what? I don't cotton to being Lord of Time, stuck on some island at the edge of nowhere. No, Aaron Black likes being in the thick of it. Seems to me time ought to stay all mashed up. It's been a hell of a ride. Gotta keep these thrills coming. Which means making sure no one gets a chance to screw this up. Once the hourglass gets dumped in the sea of blood, ain't no one ever shaping history again. What happens next? Hell if I know. And that's just the way I like it.
Now, the reason Aaron Black is at number 3 is because, again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the bad guy endings, actually, believe it or not, probably have the most common sense with the time, with the controlling of time. Aaron Black pretty much is like, you know what? I like not knowing what's coming up ahead. I love this time mesh of old and new, and I don't want anyone screwing that up, and I really don't want anyone screwing up my timeline ever again, so I'm just going to dump this son of a bitch.
See, the problem that I have with that is he didn't fix anything, so...
Well,
yeah,
he said he didn't
the
want to
timeline's
fix
connected.
anything.
I know he didn't say he didn't want to do it, but in the cutscene, he's fighting himself. If he kills himself, then he doesn't exist in either way.
Well, if the one from the past kills his future self, it's alright. If the future self kills
What's the
the past
likelihood
one...
that's gonna happen?
Good point. But it doesn't show that
usually the one that's older knows more about how the younger one fights because they've fought like that.
That's true. And it really didn't show, if you notice at that ending, the one who dumped it, was it the young Aaron Black or was it the old Aaron Black? Because remember, he doesn't age. Thanks to some...
True.
So it's like, we don't know which Aaron Black that was. That's what also makes it good. You don't know, is it the young one or the old one? Because remember, he's been working with Shao Kahn before, so we know he's got to be very old. And he knows who Shang Tsung is. So he has to be way older than most of the Earthrealmers. So it is interesting, and I'm kind of hoping if when MK12
I
comes
agree
out...
with the idea of not messing with time, but the one thing I do have to argue against is you should not keep it split. because that creates paradoxes.
It does, but even he said he didn't want to be control of time, so it's like, who are you gonna get
So
that you
don't
could...
just fix that one simple thing that she decided she was gonna make the timeline come together,
He could have did that, but I don't think that's his style.
and then yeah, but it makes more sense, and then he could still have his
It makes
not
sense, but it
knowing what
doesn't
happens
fit
in the
his
future.
character. But that is the third best one in black. So now we're going to the second one, which is... Yeah, I'm going to have real fun explaining this one.
What does it mean to wield the sands of time? To be the chosen one? It means making choices that break your heart. For the protection of all, I shared Kronika's power with the people I trust and love most. Together, we replaced the elder gods that Cetrion had betrayed, and became eternal guardians of the realms. Still, my heart longs for a simpler life. The kind one cannot have being the chosen one, let alone an elder god. What Kitana and I would not give for those simple pleasures. Perhaps in another timeline, it could be ours.
Now, here's my issue with this one. One, you split up Chronicle's powers, which I can understand because, because you say you're the chosen one, but correct me if I'm wrong. When Liu Kang died, the new chosen one became Casey Cage, correct?
Yeah.
Didn't it in story mode Casey Cage told past Liu Kang that, yeah, you're not the chosen one anymore, I become the chosen one because you died? So with that being said, and that knowledge going into his arcade ending, if you already know you're not the chosen one, Casey Cage is, why would you still keep calling yourself the chosen one? You're not Jeff Jarrett.
Let's bring up another thing. Again,
I'm
he
not done
chose
yet.
people he considered... Well, let me say one thing. He still chose all the people he considers family.
Which brings me to my next point. You wish you could have a simpler life with Kitana. You could do that. All you would have to do is step down as an elder god, which we know that can happen, because Raiden did it in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. You could step down, give up your power, you and Kitana, and have that simpler life. Yes, it would mean Kun Lao and Raiden are the elder gods until they can find two suitable replacements, but still, you could have that simple life. All you would have to do is forfeit your power as an elder god, but you won't do that, so aren't you being a little bit of a greedy bastard at that point?
Yeah.
And
that was actually going to be my second point.
And
if
you
want a
control
simple
time,
life, you could...
so you could rewind time and change your decision. It's like, oy.
I mean, when you think about it, his logic is flawed in a lot of ways too.
So again, I would like to point out we can't agree on the ones I like, but we agreed on the ones I've hated so far.
No, well, I mean, for Kotal Khans and
Black, you saw where I was going with. You semi-agreed.
Well, I like the idea of what they're doing, but I don't like how they're doing it.
Okay. Going to the second best one now, and we actually talked about one of these endings a few days ago.
For the second time in my life, I kicked the living shit out of an immortal. My prize? The hourglass. Now I can change history. Talk about redonkulous cosmic power. But despite what you may think about Beverly Hills girls, that is so not my style. The chosen one thing is for the Liu Kangs and Katanas of the world. In the next timeline, all I want is to be a model soldier, to command the next generation of special forces. We were born to defend Earthrealm. Just like the heroes that inspired me. My parents. Okay, so there's one more thing I want. My mom back. Not just for me, but for Dad. He and my mom deserve a happily ever after retirement. We'll never know how different things were the last time around. But we'll be together. a family. And that's all that matters.
Now with Casey Cage, she even says she does not want to be the chosen one, so I guess she forfeits her power or whatever. They don't really go into much detail. It's hinted that she probably gave it to Liu Kang and Katana. But I like the fact that she also it says she wants to lead the next generation, so she wants to be that leader for her, Jackie, Takeda, and Kun Jin. Plus, she does do one more thing, and it's one of the few that don't backfire. She gets her mom back. You know, and for her, for Johnny, you know, and gets the happy ending. You know, so it does everything right. It fits with her the character development that I like, and the fact of, you know, she realizes that, hey, I don't want to be in control of this. One of the few heroes that realizes, yeah, probably not something I should control. Unlike some of the other heroes.
I have a few gripes, which is kind of connected to the tirade I'll have when I do mine against you-know-who.
Yeah, Moff says he's not Jeff Jarrett, but he's Drew McIntyre.
She focuses only on herself. No one else. Herself.
Correct.
You know, which is my problem with you-know-who's.
Correct,
Like,
I understand where you're going with it.
there are other people that she is connected to that have a lot of problems and that could have been fixed, and then you could have just stopped there. But no, you just stop with being the best soldier and then having your mother back. I mean, I understand the mother back, but the best soldier, you really need time. You need to change time to do that?
Now, before
Like,
we get
Jax
to...
is crazy.
Before I get to the worst one, which I'm sure it's probably the one we're probably both going to agree on, unless you see something far worse when you're getting arcade endings, time for two dishonorable mentions. Now, these two were not bad enough to get into the top 5, but they were two that still need to be discussed. Now, I'm not going to show them because I don't want to. Number 1 is unfortunately Collector. Pretty much all his is, long story short, he's now in charge of Outward. Hooray. Nothing really else changes. And the other one I hate, but not enough to put it in the top 5, is Baraka. All he does is pretty much becomes king of Outward and wins the Mortal Kombat tournament and now starts eating people. And they never run out of meat.
Cannibalism, I can respect that.
Yeah, it's pretty much all his is, so they pretty much didn't really change up Baraka's ending from core. But let's get to the number 1 worst ending. This ain't gonna surprise anybody, because it's one me and Fi I think 100% agree upon.
The hourglass was there for the taking, and I could think of only one thing.
I can already see Fi Ninja's like, yep, I can't argue this one.
Made me revenant. Resurrected.
No, because when I do mine, I'm going on the full tirade.
I've never forgotten the things he did for Quan Chi. I thought with the hourglass, I could fix all that. And I can. Dad won't die in that massacre. He'll never be a revenant.
Also, can I just make one blatant point clear?
What my told me since the start of all of this is
Let's
true.
wait
They
till the end.
couldn't, you know, no,
Mom
it's
got
just
together
like
when he was in
something
treatment.
that's minor,
suffer?
but it still bugs me.
They don't meet. And I'll never be born. And you know what? I'm good with that. I'm not just protecting Dad.
So,
I'm
in that
protecting
one
everyone he'll risk
scene,
his
they
life
had
to
their
save.
MK9 costumes.
In my shoes, it's
Yet
what
they
he
couldn't
would
make
do.
the characters
what a
actually
prince
have
does.
those costumes. They acknowledge that they
I know you'll never
exist.
hear this, but
Yep.
goodbye, Dad. I love you.
Explain that.
I don't know, probably censorship. Now, That's the only thing I can think of because of how big Katana and Jade's and Sindel's boobs were. Because you could tell the boobs shrunk.
Yeah, well, you could keep the costume designs and just do that.
Well, I know,
It's not
but
that hard.
I know that was one of the issues with this game. People bitched that it was censored a bit, but let's talk about Jackie's ending. Now, Fine Interest is going to go on a tirade for his, and you agree with it being number one on my worst list, right? Before I even continue into mine.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I hate this ending because it's stupid.
Let's just point out something. I get what she's trying to do. I really do. You know, she wants to make sure her dad doesn't have those issues with it being irrelevant. I get what she's trying to do, the good thing. I get that. But you decide to erase yourself from history and make sure it never happens and he doesn't get killed in the church. And you're okay with him not meeting your mother, which means you don't get born. So you actually destroy two lives, your mom's and your dad's. But then you destroy Takeda's life because that's your fiance, so he never gets to meet his true love. So that's 3 lives you destroy. And then, oh yeah, your best friend Casey Cage. You destroy 4 lives just to make your dad happy. And what's even worse, if you think about it, because she erases herself, who's in control of the time sphere now?
No one.
No one. So that means some random douchebag like V10 Beetle could go there and can take over time.
Wait. It creates a paradox, therefore all time is destroyed.
That could also happen.
Because, guess what? Time cannot have been manipulated to create that timeline if she doesn't exist, therefore time cannot repeat. Time doesn't exist anymore. She ruined it.
Yep. So, dead. Furthermore, I'm going to say this. All she had to do is when he was brought back as a reverend, because you can control time, you could probably erase it from his memory. Or be like, hey, tell younger Jax that, you know, meet this woman blah 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 someplace in a few years and he still would have been born. But no.
Or, you know, well, I'll talk about that when I do mine.
It's just, to me, the worst ending, and one of the worst endings I've seen in a Mortal Kombat game in a long time. I have not seen an ending as bad as that since, oh god.
I'll talk more about her ending when I do mine. Because I'm gonna go on a full-on rant.
I think the last time I played a Mortal Kombat game that I had an ending so terrible that I actually had to step away and vomit before this one was actually in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and it was, I believe it was Quan Chi's ending, and I like Quan Chi, but Quan Chi kills Shang Tsung, Quan Chi then kills Kano, and then for some reason Liu Kang's soul was somehow able to fly into Kano's body and kill Quan Chi. What? But this ending's worse, because you pretty much destroy 4 people's lives just to make sure your dad doesn't go batshit crazy. Yeah.
Doug, there's more to that. She destroys a lot more lives than that.
Well, she destroys, yes, more, but the 4 main ones I was concentrating on.
Don't worry, I'll be focusing
I'm sure
on
you'll be focusing on, but the 4 main ones were her dad's, her mom, Takeda, and Casey. Because Casey looked at her as a sister. Those were the 4 main ones she destroyed.
Oh, mine is for a completely different reason, but I'll get to that later.
Before I get to the number 1 best ending in Mortal Kombat 11, I do have 2 honorable mentions. These 2 are for endings that almost made the top 5 but did not quite make it. And that would be Cabal and Kano. Remember what I kind of said when I said some of the villains actually figured out that controlling time was not what it was all cracked up to be? Those 2 figure out and do something else with it. But I'll let you guys watch those endings for yourselves. Who knows, maybe Fire Ninja might have them on his list. But for number 1, and probably the one who learned the most important lesson in his ending.
I kind of figured that was for number 1.
Capital I insane. I marry Sonya? I have a kid who actually likes me? Inquiring minds want to know how the hell that happens. So I get the hourglass to show me how kicking Shinnok's ass, which I did beautifully, turned me from Hollywood megastar into global icon. So far, so good. Until I let that fame screw me up. Didn't hit rock bottom until I saw just how badly I'd let down my little girl. I finally got what old man me was saying about needing humility and maturity. But I also knew I couldn't get there without living the same life he did. So, I restored the timeline, just as it was. With one tiny little difference. Sonia's story won't end underneath the rubble of some busted-up Netherrealm castle. Because Johnny Cage flicks always have happy endings.
I do love that line, because Johnny Cage endings always have happy endings. Now to me personally...
always have happy endings.
To me personally, the reason this is the best one, because out of all the endings, this is also one of the few that ties into story mode. If you haven't played story mode, long story short, older Johnny Cage tells younger one, you need to learn some humility and grace, long story short. He learns it in this ending, realizing, oh crap, maybe I should have listened to older Johnny. He finally gets the hint that sometimes you have to have humility in life. So that's a positive there, and he realizes he upset Casey as a little girl, which I don't think he would ever want to do that, because that is his baby girl. And it is nice that in his ending, he does get Sonya back. Sonya's not left for dead. Older Sonya, anyway. Overall, to me, this is probably also has the best ending of all the good guys, and best ending overall. Now, Mr. Fire Ninja, do you agree or disagree with this being at number 1, or at least being in the top 5 best?
It's in the I would say it's top 5 best. I don't know where exactly I'd place it.
Because you still have a lot of endings to go through for yourself.
See, I do agree that would be higher than Cassie's. But some of the gripes I have with it kind of connect back with the ones I have for Cassie's, where he focuses on himself. Doesn't help Jax at all. Which technically, he's the godfather of Jackie.
Granted, if you noticed, almost no one really helps anybody else in their ending.
I know, and that's a problem I have with the endings in general. See, if you can control time, I mean, one, why would you want to make major changes? And I mean, he defeats Shinnok, and he changes time to do that. But then he realized that, but when Shinnok was defeated, Cassie was an adult. How did she become a child?
No. I think what they meant was in that one, when he defeated Shinnok the first time, the younger one. Because remember, at that point, Johnny Cage already had some humility. I think they're going with when he beat Shinnok. I think they're either tying it to Mortal Kombat 4 or right after MK9 when he hadn't learned humility yet. That's what I'm going with, I guess, and that's why Casey was a little girl still, I guess. That's the only thing I could presume.
Which, I mean, I do appreciate what Johnny did. Like, he restored things. Because obviously he saw how it was negatively affecting people. And with, he brings back Sonya, which I'm fine with, since, that's the love of his life.
Yeah, which if you would have said that to if you would have told somebody between MK1, 2, 3, 4, that, oh yeah, by the way, Johnny Cage would eventually hook up with Sonya and have a daughter, everybody would have said nope.
He's gonna sleep with Sonya.
Well, a lot of people thought it was going to be Sonya and Jax together, but...
No, because Jax is Wakanda for...
Now, there's probably going to be some people asking why was Shang Tsung not included or mentioned. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to wait till all the DLC characters come out. And I'm going to do a special video for them. I'm going to rank the endings best to from worst to best for the DLC characters. They're getting their own list. Now, if somebody's going to ask me why Shao Kahn and Faust respectively were not on that, can't be on that list. One, Faust's not DLC. She is a character you can unlock early if you're willing to pay or you got the combat pass. If not, you're going to have to wait until you get to a certain point in the game. With Shao Kahn was pre-order bonus only. You either got him if you had the pre-order or if you got the combat pass. But because he's technically in the game, and story mode and everything else, he does not belong on that list. Because he was available day one. So Shang Tsung, Sindel, Nightwolf, Spawn, and whoever the other two are, they will get their own list. We also will take a look at their fatalities in greater detail and discuss do we agree or disagree with if they're good or bad. You already saw Shang Tsung on my list already, but we'll go into greater detail for him later on, and I'll tell you why I like both of his fatalities, but one more than the other. But fine, Ninja, before we go, do you have anything else to add?
Kevin Owens is full on babyface now.
Oh dear God. That just makes me want to cry now.
And guess what?
What?
They made him kind of like Punk. They made him speak his mind.
Oh dear
and
God.
had like the cutting out microphones and stuff.
Okay. Next, you're gonna tell me Nakamura won the IC title.
No, because it's a non-title match.
Oh, well, I thought it was a title match. But anyway, until next time, have a good night. Look out for Fire Ninja's best and worst fatalities and endings coming up. And don't forget, I will be streaming more MK11 Towers of Time next time. Till then, good night, everybody.